welcome to the Arcade Heroes podcast, episode number 5, I believe.
We're at 6.
6? Really?
Yeah.
Let me double check really quick. I should have done this beforehand. I know. Nope, yep, the last one was number 4. So episode 5.
Oh, man, I can't count to 6. Sorry.
You're missing a finger? No.
Actually.
Episode number 5. Thank you for listening and tuning in. My name is Adam Pratt. I'm with ArcadeHeroes.com, and joining me, as always, is Sean McDermott from All Castle Games. Hello, Sean.
Hello, Adam. How's it going?
Not too shabby. It's, see, last time we did this was
2 weeks?
right before July got started, and you got to interview Charlie with
Spooky Pinball.
Spooky Pinball, yes. About Rob Zombie's Spook Show International Pinball. So hope you guys enjoyed that from last time. Don't believe we have any guests slated this time due to some lousy planning on my part. I've had a couple people say they want to join us. I just have not reached out to them. I've been pretty busy myself. How have things been there in Wisconsin?
Well, it was 4th of July weekend, so how did that go for you? Good?
Well, I would say overall pretty good. We did have cut hours. The mall closed at 6, so it was a shorter day. And generally Saturdays in the evenings where we make most of our money. So, but of course, when it's a holiday, most people are gone out of town or doing something outside. Probably wouldn't do too much for us anyways.
Well, I was just hoping you to blow your hand off with fireworks.
Yeah, I've noticed that with the news. There was the guy who killed himself immediately, lighting one on his head. I've heard it seems like there's been a lot more reports out there of people hurting themselves with fireworks. It's like, what's going on? If people just forget how these things work, that they involve fire and explosions? I don't know.
It's alcohol.
I guess so.
What state was that in anyway?
I don't recall. I decided to go camping most of the weekend, so I didn't really see fireworks. I was out in the great outdoors. In some clouds, I saw something I saw some fireworks shine because we were not too far away from what's called the Stadium of Fire here. Couldn't hear it, of course, was far enough away, but you could see the constant strobe light flashing in the clouds and whatnot.
Stadium of Fire.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with all that, but hopefully for all of you listeners out there, you had a fun, safe, explosive, without death or injury 4th of July holiday.
If you can even remember it.
Yeah. What? But, I guess that's the thing too with 4th of July landing on a Saturday. That makes it technically a longer weekend for most people, where you get Friday and Monday off if you're really lucky. I wasn't so much. I just got Saturday off pretty much, and I had to get back into town for opening up on Sunday. But yeah, overall, pretty solid weekend, I would say.
Yeah, I had to work all weekend, according to the 4th. I mean, people don't understand that this is kind of like an entertainment business, and
yeah,
when people are off, that's when we're working hard,
Yep, that's when you're working the hardest. So when it's like Christmas time, something like that, then you can expect to have something go wrong with one of the machines out there, or just we'll be pretty busy.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like movie theaters. We're gearing up for the big Minions release this weekend, and Terminator kind of fizzled out a little.
Yeah, I heard about that. I had a friend who went and watched it who seemed satisfied with it just being a movie with explosions, but otherwise it sounds like everybody's universally loathed it.
I watched it. It's either I hate it or I just think I'm too stupid to understand it. And
Oh, don't bash yourself. I mean, look at what Hollywood does these days.
It's like I kind of want to see it again because it's just like they try to cram so much crap in there. It's just like a movie that had too much crap crammed into it. It could have been better,
Right. Lots of
This
references.
ain't a podcast about movies.
Sure.
In the arcade realm, for me, it's been just repairs and the usual sales. I started working on The Simpsons, another Simpsons game, but other than that, not a whole lot. I mean, so. But you, on the other hand, I heard had something special arrive.
You mean a new version of Terminator? No, I'm just kidding. Uh, my poor Terminator's got a broken gun on it, so I'm like, ah.
I'll just throw it out the door.
Right, but no. Thursday afternoon is if any of you out there are regular readers of Arcade Heroes, then you know about this. You saw the unboxing video, as I called it, to kind of attach to the many unboxing videos out there. I actually never really watched those. I don't know what the point is of them, but for an arcade machine, it's at least fascinating, I think, to see one being go through the process of getting out of the crate, or sometimes they actually do come in boxes like Batman did.
I'm surprised that one didn't. Usually they come in a box.
Right. Yeah, I was a little surprised when I saw that and it had those parts exposed. But yes, Star Wars Battle Pod finally made it to my venue. And so the video, which was hyper sped up, and there were a few moments that I wasn't able to record because I mean, I did feel a little bad sometimes when I'm sitting there filming other people doing work. So it's like I had to figure out something. I did have a tripod, but there were still instances where I couldn't record while holding the camera at the same time. But anyways, it took us almost 4 hours to get that thing put together, and the video makes it look like just a few minutes.
It looked pretty tedious. I watched it. I mean, I guess I've been there before, so I kind of know. But
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of it was just, you have to bash the crate into pieces,
yeah.
leave a big mess to clean up afterwards. And from there, it's trying to get these huge, heavy pieces together and lined up and bolted in place and all of that stuff. And Namco games oftentimes will have a lot of bolts and attachments and other things that you have to put together with them. And
I was
so,
kind of surprised by how much you had to assemble, especially on the back of the seat. Like they didn't assemble the plastic parts.
right.
That was weird.
Right, yeah, that I didn't expect. I thought it was just going to be more the bolting the two halves together so that they're lined up and the marquee, but it, yeah, it was a little more involved than I
Maybe the
expected.
factory's just getting lazy, and they're just pretty soon we're going to get a whole box of parts and we have to assemble the whole game. I mean,
Maybe so. Hope not. Please don't do that. I mean, I guess as I mentioned in the post about it, is finally having some time to really sit down with the game. I mean, I'm really hoping that the software update comes out for it soon. I did mention this, so that to get to Namco, I don't know if it's going to get to the powers that be that actually determine whether or not something would get done with this. But the attract mode on this is the worst. I mean, they just have it do 10-15 seconds of some in-game battle playing the Star Wars theme song, and just the same Star Wars theme song. It's like they ignore
does it
the
give
rest.
you the option to turn it off or volume
Yeah,
down?
at the very that's what I ended up doing, because I mean, normally I'm completely fine with the Star Wars theme song. It's a grand epic song. People recognize it from far away, but in this instance, when you hear that on a loop that plays over and over again, restarting itself every 15 seconds, it drives you crazy. I mean, more crazy than other attract modes. I mean, there are plenty of attract modes, and it's usually Japanese developers that are the worst sinners in this regard, where they just don't put a lot of content to their attract modes and just have it repeat, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or House of the Dead, name any one of them,
Daytona.
or Daytona, right? But I mean,
Sorry.
this one, they don't have any cutscenes. There's no high score screen. There's none of that, and so I'm just baffled. It's like, did nobody pay attention to this when they put the attract mode together? Was it just like, oh crap, we forgot to do this. Hey, you put together a track mode in 15 minutes. It's shipping now. It's almost what it feels like. So I'm really hoping that a software update will come along, fix the attract mode, give it a high score screen. And also, I've heard from others about this, that it has a camera built into the control panel. It doesn't do anything.
Really?
Yeah, that's really baffling to me. I mean, for one, this is an incredibly expensive game. Every feature included with it that we paid for should be working. But Mock Storm, which is what this is based on, that has the camera working. It takes a picture of the player during the game and then just picks one of them. I don't know what algorithm.
What about the Japanese mech game that uses the pod?
Oh, the Gundam pods. That I'm not 100% sure about. I do know there's some differences between the Mock Storm and the Star Wars Battle Pod cabinets as far as dimensions go. Not 100% sure what other changes exist between the Gundam pods and the Mock Storm and the Star Wars. Although, one thing I'm certain of is the Gundam pods on the throttle, that could go back and forth as well as side to side. Whereas Mock Storm and Star Wars, it's just a standard type throttle, which is just back and forth. Gundam might also have a trigger on the
I've never played those
throttle, but yeah, I haven't played it either, since finding one in the States is next to impossible. But either way, you can go into the operator menu and it'll pull up a camera option. You can test it, you can take a picture with it, but in the game it's not implemented yet. So in that regard, it feels like they're still running it on earlier software. So I've already asked them if there's a more recent version that's maybe a little more complete in that regard. The game itself looks like it's all completed. All the missions, you can finish those and enjoy them. They're about 3 minutes.
Now, does it like lock some of them, and then you can time release, or do you have to play levels? Are they all unlocked?
They're all unlocked.
Okay.
So if you want to, you can play the extreme difficulty Vader's Revenge from the get-go. Not that I would recommend doing that, but yeah, that's it's all up there available to play.
Oh.
I have heard that there is going to be some changes or additions to the game for around episode 7 time, but unfortunately I don't know what that will entail exactly.
And they maybe got this game out a little early just to make sure they got it in time for the theater,
right,
the release of 7. But
they definitely have more than
what hardware is it running on? Is it the ES2?
I remember seeing the sticker. I want to say a ES3 or maybe ES3 Plus, I think is what it said. Yeah. It also might be ESX. But I'm not... I'd have to open up the panel to
It looked almost exactly like the Niren boards that we have. I think those are ES3 or 2.
Well, it is... I mean, either way, it's a PC-based board, so most likely is... maybe the CPU is the same as some of their other PC ones, like Dead Heat Riders, but they just threw in a graphics card that could handle this particular game as needed. I mean, I didn't notice anything like frame rate drops. It runs on Unreal Engine 3, which I believe is the first time Namco's done that for any of their arcade games. Normally, they've just done their own proprietary engine. But yeah, that looks like your typical arcade PC board like you find in pretty much everything else these days.
Yeah, it just kind of looked like the same board set that was in
Yep.
It has that interface panel on the front.
Mm-hmm.
Where they have surface-mounted fuses, which is a great idea.
Yeah, there's a bit of circuit boards to look at when we were putting it together, but that part was fortunately pretty straightforward. Just plug the color-coded cables into each other. That was kind of nice. It was all color-coded like that.
So what else is going on?
Well, other than the Star Wars, I mean, that's been fascinating to see. I mean, I did decide to put it on $2 to start, $1 to continue, which, as far as I know, I've not heard of anybody that has that low of a price on it. But it's been doing pretty well so far for, especially for a single player game. Um, Definitely, kids love going into it and sitting down and making pew pew noises and going to town with their imaginations and all that stuff. But yeah, so that one that's I guess been for the Arcade Heroes site, one of the bigger news pieces with the unboxing video. If you haven't seen it already, you can find it on YouTube. Just go to the Arcade Heroes YouTube channel, or just type in Star Wars Arcade Unboxing, and it should pop up, or Battle Pod Unboxing.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Other than
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I was looking on System 16. I didn't see. I don't see it on here.
Well, System 16, they, if you read his most recent post, he basically said he doesn't want to touch PC stuff anymore.
Oh, he's doing, he's got Dead Heat Riders on here.
He does, but as he mentioned in his most recent post, and I've talked with him before. His name's Toby. Great guy, and I know in recent years he just hasn't had the time to dedicate to the site like he used to. But yeah, he says in his most recent entry, it's been discouraging me from updating for a while. I've decided to draw a line under certain parts of the site and not update them any further. I'm pretty much not going to add any post-2010 arcade games apart from Sega stuff, and that's only because I'm interested in them. So with that, I mean,
there's like no Sega stuff left.
Well, yeah,
it's probably easier.
But that's the thing, is where a lot of that development's raw thrills. But the thing with, I guess from his perspective and a lot of the fans of the site, is that it's just rebranded reconfigured PCs. There's nothing really special about them like old hardware, where every single hardware release was almost like a new game console in a way.
I know that the motherboards on the ES1 are they're Namco boards, but the video card is off the shelf. Like
right,
NVIDIA.
Right, and so I'm guessing just because there's too much off the shelf stuff there, that just doesn't find it worth the time, the limited time that he has to.
I'll just
add to the site.
You need to make sure that you check that logic unit like once a year and clean out the fans on that video card, otherwise it will die.
Yeah,
that's a problem I've noticed with them ever since like Max Tunes came out. Max 2, no, Maximum Tune 3 had those. They're good video cards and all, but they can't handle like 7 layers of dust. So. And the fur balls that appear in there.
That was actually an issue happening with my re-rave today that I fixed. Was the game was just crashing completely. Like usually when it crashes, it'll reset itself, but it was crashing, so there was no output from the game at all. Nothing on the video, nothing from the audio. And I would turn it off, turn it back on. It would work for a few minutes, and then do it again. And I opened it up, and lo and behold, somehow the fan that's in the lower part of the cabinet. I have one of the older re-raves, not the newer, smaller, easier to move around re-rave, but the massive, enormous one that they first built. For some reason, the power to the fan was unplugged. So no idea how that happened, because there wasn't anything there that indicated that it should have been tugged on or anything, even moving the game around. But
gremlins.
However it worked out, it happened. So fix that, and as far as I know, it's working fine now.
Yeah, it's one thing we have preventive maintenance. It's one thing I at least try to do at least once a year. You're supposed to do it once a month, but I check the fans ever so regular. Every time we move a game, I clean them out. But now recently I just did House of Dead 2. I pulled the whole logic cage out. It's got little CPU fans. You make sure that stuff's clean. It'll save you a lot of money in the long run.
Yep.
A little bit of work, but so that's pretty cool. So what was it? It's $2 and a $1 to continue. You had it at for the Star Wars.
Yeah. Just due to factors that are more with the local economy, where we're at, all that stuff.
Now, what would you say the average game time is? Like
3 minutes.
And how like how's it been received? I mean, you get a lot of people waiting to play, or like.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is compared to some of the other games I've had people standing around waiting to play it more than I see. I mean, I haven't had a line or anything like that, but I mean, I've had people wanting to jump in on it, and so it's been played a lot. So
That's good.
yeah, overall, I guess just when we were trying a little higher costs, we were getting a lot of people whining about it, and it was just like, do we really want to deal with this whining all the time, or just lower it down a little bit and see where it goes? And after that, I haven't heard any complaints about it. So, of course, we also do back it up with you're not going to find it that cheap anywhere else. So there you go.
Go somewhere else to play. I mean,
Right.
well, that's cool. What else we got on the dock today? There's a big Mario Kart update. I see. Is that what's going on?
Yeah. So this was in the news recently, and today, as far as what I'm seeing online, it's getting the most attention to the Arcade Heroes side is the Mario Kart Arcade GP DX international models. One's released to the USA and Europe. Finally got their first of at least 5 annual updates. When Namco first, or Bandai Namco Amusements, sorry, first announced this, they said that they were going to do 5 annual updates, and to pay for it, anybody that bought the game is going to have to pay $50 a month per seat to cover that cost. And I've heard some complaints about that. Some
I've heard
people asking, is there an offline version where I don't have to pay anything for it? But Bandai stuck to their guns, and so this is the first update, which has added courses, items, and even changed the way drifting works so that it actually feels more like the console game that more people are familiar with than the way that they had it previously, which admittedly, if you were used to Mario Kart console version, which is more likely, it did feel a little weird when you got onto the arcade and tried to do the drift.
It is a game that is developed by Namco, not Nintendo. So
Right.
that's part
Of course, Namco is developing a lot of Nintendo's games now, like they did the Wii Sports Club for the Wii U. I want to say I remember reading that they actually were involved in the development of Mario Kart 8, although
I don't think
it's been a while, I can't remember. But Namco and Nintendo have a pretty cozy relationship at this point.
Yeah. My brain is not working today, apparently. So it added characters and tracks, or just characters?
Characters, tracks, items. At least what was initially promised is each update would add.
Oh, was it late? I mean, is this on time or?
Well, the thing is Namco never really said when these annual updates were going to occur. But given that the game was released, I want to say either last June or July, I'm guessing they're just sticking to that because it sounds like it hit July 1st.
Well, they should change it from annual to random.
Right.
I'm just saying, if I bought, a $12,000 game and I had to pay $50 a month, I'd want to kind of under a schedule,
Right, right. Well, that's true. I've wondered about that myself. I guess it depends on how long they plan on manufacturing them, but.
At least they're doing it. I mean, they could have just took your money and said, "Well, we screwed up. Sorry."
Right. Yeah. Or done a different package deal, like they've done with the Big Buck Wilds. But yeah, either way, I guess it seems positive overall. I mean, it just makes it a better game, tweaks some of the problems, adds more stuff to it. So in Japan, they've already had 2 updates, at least 2 major updates, I should say. Probably a few more than that if you count just program corrections, but.
So we're getting pretty much what they already have, or is there something?
Essentially, is what it seems like. The one major addition that they most recently added to the Mario Kart Japanese version is an online battle mode, as they call it, and that means cross-site play, which is something we've seen in the U.S. before with NASCAR Team Racing. That allowed one venue to compete against another, or users to compete against users in other venues.
Didn't Tank do that?
Not that I'm aware of here, unless there was a unique version, or I think the Japanese version might have done that, but the US version didn't do that
So
as
there was a
far as I know.
Sega game that did though. I can't remember.
Yeah, there was Alien Front Online, I think it
Yeah, that
was,
was it. You could play with the
back
Dreamcast
in
people too.
2002, and yeah, there was you could be aliens or the humans, and you had different tanks, stuff like that. And that one was supposed to do play against home users on the
Right.
Dreamcast.
Yeah.
And it also was compatible with a headset with the microphone that worked with the Dreamcast. Although I honestly don't know how long that might have actually worked since the Dreamcasts died around that time.
Well, they weren't planning on it to die. I mean,
No, of course, but I don't know if it was like a few weeks, a few months, a year, what it was exactly that actually was a feature worth touting. But yeah, so I mean, there have been a few things like that before, and I think that to help make Mario Kart Arcade GPDX, gosh, these names are so long, uh, really worth that money, that monthly fee is if you had an online mode like that, I think that would really give it a boost.
yeah, that
My
would definitely help. Um, I don't know how much casual cases, which is a lot.
no, no, but anybody that's into
It helped.
Mario Kart and finding their arcade, I mean, one good benefit to Mario Kart Arcade, I think, is that it is arcade exclusive. And given how loyal fans are to playing Mario Kart games, um, I just don't see how that's
Well,
a
with the Mario
detriment
Karts
to
I have,
sales.
I have a hard time telling. I mean, people don't understand it's arcade exclusive. They just think it's Mario Kart.
You need
That's,
signs, arcade exclusive version, not available on your Wii or Wii
they,
U
all right,
or
listen.
3DS.
They don't read the signs. Okay, not
I
not
mean,
really.
all you need is just say arcade exclusive.
They
That's
can read the sign that says two tokens. It's like, excuse me,
well,
but
then they can't read the sign that
well,
says
it's
push
not
start to
that
play.
it's not that they're stupid. It's just that they're in the the leisure mode. People click into leisure mode when they go out and have leisure time. And in leisure mode, most people don't really read. They just go, "Oh, I want to do this. That looks cool." And
No,
this,
I use arcade exclusive signs on my
yeah,
games.
it's a good thing to do.
I know not
I'm
everybody
just,
reads them. As long as one person understands, then the job is done.
if I had if I had a site that had a scene, like you have, like with actual regulars and things, yeah, I could see doing that. But we're serving the casuals here, so
Well, maybe if you still do that, it would help educate the casuals to know that hey, there are games that are not available on your phone or your home console.
I'll give it a go. But I'm just telling you, I don't know. I've been there.
Well,
I've stood and watched them, and they're
I
kind of.
know tracking that would be next to impossible. It's like, were you convinced that this was arcade exclusive because of the sign? It's like I don't know how you track that, but sure.
I don't, they play it because it's Mario Kart or they don't. And it's like, oh, we want to play a game, okay. Maybe they won't play. Maybe they'll play it because, they weren't planning on playing the game when they went to the movies, but they saw that they said, oh, that'd be kind of neat. Let's play that. I don't know if being arcade exclusive really matters
Mm-hmm.
to casual people that are just going out to a film. You know, um, it matters to the game people. If we had it in a GameStop or something, it would matter. Um,
Right.
but I mean, arcade exclusive games generally earn better. I mean, I have a bunch, but you know.
Well, that definitely falls into place if we're talking about a fighter, especially.
So, so we got a few new locations opening. I'm assuming we're gonna.
At least one that I talked about
Did we forget something else?
yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. Um, Broadway Bar and Arcade in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So it looks like they're doing the bar arcade thing that a lot of locations have done out there. Although instead of charging just for the drinks or an entry fee, looks like they're doing all the games on quarters. And they also do seem to have a few new-ish games like Ghost Squad, so it's not exclusively we're only doing 80s or 90s games. I know some locations Won't touch anything. If it's manufactured after a certain year.
Yeah, that's a
There are
big
some
mistake.
locations like that out there. Sorry.
That's a big mistake. They need to pick up the new ones too. That's the ones that do good. They have like Alien Isolation. What's that new arcade game from Ralph Thrills? Aliens,
Aliens Armageddon.
Armageddon. Isolation's a console game. Sorry.
Right. Get your games right, man.
I get my head screwed on today. All right. No, the classic games are cool to look at, but I mean, if you want to earn money with those games, you definitely need a Star Wars Battle Pod.
Right, and I mean and that's what I've tried to tell a lot of people. I've argued this on some forums where classic collectors gather together and they talk about how to make an arcade work, and you bring that up, and some people they seem
They
to
get really
offended by it.
I know.
Yeah, they get really angry, and it's just like, fine, whatever. If you want to live in your different reality, then go right ahead. But
you should have the classic.
To actually have a business succeed, because I mean the thing is, there's certain realities that you just cannot escape. You can't run it as a charity. It has to make enough money to cover its bills at least. And then what you're going to realize, maybe if you are running it as a charity where it's like, I'm just doing this because I love it, I mean, that's great. I mean, I do this because I love it. That certainly helps. But you're going to get to a point where it's like, hey, I'd kind of like to make some money off of this too, so that I can, feed myself, pay my home bills, stuff like that.
Well, you got to pay the electricity on those games.
Right. I mean, well, there's rent, there's electricity, there's insurance, there's taxes, there's wages if you have people working for you. There's maintenance costs, buying new parts. I mean, this stuff isn't free. And so the problem with classic games is that most of them people don't play. No. So people they'll do like you said, they'll come in, they'll look at them. I've had people come into my place and say, "This is so awesome what you're doing, man. It's so great to see these old games that I haven't seen in so many years." And they walk out. They didn't buy a single token. They just are.
You almost have to charge a door fee. Hey, man, you want to look at these games? Here,
right.
$10. Go look at them.
Right. But I mean, I've had that happen a lot. That's not an isolated case. No, and so that's the thing, is when I pull the tokens out of my games every week and I look at what's done well for stuff that's pre-1995, I have Donkey Kong, I have Miss Pac-Man, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and X-Men. Those are the 4 games that will do okay. Maybe they'll make between 20 to maybe $40 a week.
Well, at the barcade we have that we have games in. We don't have all of it, but there's a lot of classics: Donkey Kong, Pac-Man, Galaga, yada yada yada, Arkanoid, Turtles, Simpsons, blah blah blah. And what do they play? They play Guitar Hero.
Yep.
They play My Pac-Man. Ha ha. And
the Battle Royale
and pinball, because you can't play pinball at home really good anyway. So
right. The virtual pinball, they're good attempts, but
the air hockey too makes more money than the classics together, I think.
Well, yeah, air hockey is always one of my number one games, week in, week out.
That's a picture.
My Pac-Man Battle Royale always makes a lot more than the Miss Pac-Man does, and I have regulars that will come in and play Miss Pac-Man almost every day. I'll have guys that'll spend quite a bit of time because they're good at it, and so
there's
a while on one court.
There's an inherent problem with classic games, and one is the time period which they came from, and how much they cost in the time period. Like Miss Pac-Man is a game when it came out cost a quarter, and you played when you play, and the people have been getting better at these games too, so they can come up with a quarter and they can play it for 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't keep up with inflation. So I mean, it may have 200 quarters in it, and that's like 200 plays, and it may be getting more plays than Terminator Salvation or Aliens Armageddon, but it's not keeping up with the inflation. It's only a quarter, and the play time is longer. So I mean, it's just it's stuck in the past, and people will play them all day long when they're free at a trade show or something, or at a gaming convention. But they will not they have a hard time just pulling a quarter out and putting it in there because I can play this on my phone. Why would I want to do that? I mean, and you have to
Yeah.
come up with all kinds of crazy ideas to get them to play it. And unless you're around an area where there's tons of classic, high score nuts, it's not really. I mean, it's something you have to have, but it's something that you should not be relying on to make, to put the
Right.
bread on the table. So
Right. And that's the main point is it's like I'm not saying that classics are horrible or terrible or anything like that, but I am saying if you want to have a successful business and you want to actually make money, at least enough to pay your bills, nobody can do an arcade that's 100% Space Invaders anymore. It's not 1978. As you hinted at there. One problem is that these games are so familiar. I mean, they've been around for 40 years, 30, 40 years.
30 years.
And so that doesn't have the same appeal as when it was brand new. The thing with all the new games, the new Aliens, the Terminator, the Star Wars Battle Pod, the Jurassic Park, is these are fresh. These are new. I mean, the graphics, yes, they're new. I know one complaint is that the gameplay's not as good anymore because the games are killing you off faster, or it's more challenging, or something along those lines. But fact of the matter is, I mean, when it comes down to hard numbers, your Jurassic Park's going to make more than all of your classic games combined.
Well,
that's what I see.
In the past, back in 2002 or 3, we still had these. We had Pac-Man and Galaga, and that was it. And the rest was, the newer games at the time, like Time Crisis 3 or 2, and like, Redemption. But we kept the Pac-Man and Galaga around for the reason to keep mom and dad occupied, while the kids were running around and dumping, mom and dad's money into Smoke and Token or
Right.
Jungle Jive or a Redemption piece, or maybe the kids are playing, Terminator. I mean, well, at the time it would have been like Target Terror, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, they serve a purpose. It's not that we should just flush them all down the toilet. It's just you can't. This whole barcade thing. If you're making the money on the booze and the people are coming in to look at the Pac-Man, and you're still selling a lot of drinks, I guess if that works. But I mean, you can just get a picture of Pac-Man, put it on the wall too.
Right.
I don't know how much smart ass. So
Not the same. Not the same as looking at the cabinet right there in front of me.
just get it with a picture. It'll make it a big giant light box. I bet you people put money in it. Won't even.
Yeah.
We lost you there. Okay.
We're just trying. I guess we're.
Well, I'm looking at
trying
pictures.
to be jerks. We're just trying to save you trouble.
So negative, man.
Yeah.
I'm looking at pictures. There's one picture of Broadway Bar here on the site. I mean, I just heard about this now. So it looks like they have Crazy Taxi there. I see.
Yeah, I mean,
Look,
for those guys, they have Crazy Taxi, they have NFL Blitz, they have Ghost Squad, Star Wars Trilogy Arcade. So look, it looks like they're willing to look at some newer stuff, which I think will do well for them. But they also have some of the latest pinball machines. And that is something I've noticed a lot with bar arcades is that sometimes on the video end, they refuse to do anything new, but on the pinball side, they'll get the absolute latest games. And so this kind of looks like that a little bit, just that they're not completely adverse to newest video games.
I think pinball has been really picking up the barcade thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, absolutely. And in fact, these guys, they announced that on their grand opening, which is happening 10 days from now, on July 18th, they're going to have a full throttle pinball by Highway Pinball out of the UK. So that's the first location I've personally heard of that's going to have one of those on hand. I don't know if there's any others in the US that are going to have those in their possession, but it's one that I've wondered about. Haven't had a chance to play it since I haven't seen it at any trade shows. But that's Highway Pinball's first shipped game.
It's full throttle, huh? I haven't, the price is a little high for me on that game, but I do like. I've seen the underside of the playfield, and it's very modern. what to say.
Well, that's the thing is, I would say I mean, they're doing kind of what Jersey Jack was kind of doing. I mean, they have a high definition LCD, but instead of putting it in the back box, they put it in on the playfield itself, which personally I kind of like that design idea better because most of the time you're not trying to take your eyes off the playfield because you need to keep your eye on the ball. And so I think that helps you see the video animation stuff.
Yeah, that's definitely a good thing. Hopefully they make it easy to clean. There's someone's done that before with displays. I think Stern did, and they get really dirty. So
right.
hopefully, if you make it easy enough to clean, that's a good idea.
Well, everything on it is modular, so.
Oh, it was very impressive. It's like if you ever get to see the underside of that playfield, it's
right.
very, very impressive. It almost made me want to just go buy one.
You're sold on the under playfield.
We'll see how our pin does at the barcade. We'll see.
Right. Right.
I find looking at pictures of this Broadway place, I see they have a lot of modern pins. Holy crap!
Yeah, the Broadway bar. They've got Mustang, Metallica.
Walking
I think
Dead.
it was Iron Man. Avengers, X-Men. The Walking Dead.
Star Trek in there. Pin 2000.
I saw Star Trek.
That's way at the end of the line on the.
Gotcha. But yeah, either way, they've got the latest greatest in pinball that's going to be there, so I think that'll probably do pretty well for them. At least either way, no matter what the configuration, I hope they do well. And if you're in the Pittsburgh, or I guess it's more to be more specific, Monroeville, Pennsylvania, definitely go and check them out.
Yeah, it definitely looks cool. I mean, I'd go there for the pinball, personally.
Not the drinks?
No. Okay, listen, I'm Irish, all right? If I start drinking, bad things happen, so.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Hopefully no cops come, kind of thing. How's the collections been over there? You got some details, or no? I got my final collections for last month. Or are you not? It's just off topic again. Am I off the rails?
Yes, you are. You're out of line. No. I don't have them in front of me. I'm not at my arcade for this podcast.
I call them collections. I don't call them token pool. Sorry.
That's fine. For my collections, I don't have them to pull up right off the top of my head.
I'd be willing to bet that it's Star Wars right at the top. I mean, if...
Well, I have this odd quirk, I guess. I don't know if other operators do this, but when I get a new game, I'm pulling it every day.
Well, I just kind of go in. I don't pull it, but I go in a peek,
Right.
or I take meters.
Right. It's like, I know it won't last like that, but I mean, so far.
Do you find yourself sitting and watch people just play it too?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, well, one thing I want to do, because the way that it's currently angled, is I want to put in a webcam there and connect it to a computer monitor that'll be outside so that you can easily see.
You have surveillance? I was going to ask about that.
What's that?
Have surveillance at your shop?
We do, yeah.
I was looking at this thing called Dropcam. I think it's called Nest Cam now or something. It's like $200 and it streams to your phone.
The security camera system we have does allow me to pull it up on my phone, but they are a little bulky for putting inside of a game.
Well, this is wireless, and you can just put it anywhere. I mean, if you don't have a surveillance system and you just need one camera, you can do cloud storage, so you need a DVR, and it kind of works good for me because I have a lot of sites I need to check on them to make sure you're putting the damn games on. You know who you are. And
I guess speaking of that, to continue going off on a tangent, how has the QR code thing worked out?
Well, yeah.
Not at all. Okay then.
No, I have one location where my label maker isn't the greatest, so I'm getting time to sit down and I'm gonna have to have them properly printed. But I have them with like stickers you get at Staples, like your address labels and stuff. But the problem with those kind of stickers is if they get wet or they smudge,
Right.
But they do work. I haven't had no one's used them, so.
Gotcha.
Maybe they don't care, or we don't have any problems. I would think we've had a problem, but actually I know there was a problem but like I said, people don't read signs, so.
Well, people don't scan with I don't think a lot of people even know what QR codes are still.
Well, it has a phone number too. And well, I was there on, it was Pinball League night at the theater, and I was watching people put money in the Keymaster, you know,
Right.
and I watched her come up. This is a kid, you know, it was like a teenager. Came up to the concession stand. She's like, "Yo, that game jacked me, man."
Mm-hmm.
And I was just watching to see what they do, and they're like, "Well, not our problem." I'm like, "Oh God." And then then she walks off all pissed off, you know, and I'm like, I go over to the game, and it's a Keymaster has electronic token mechs. I don't know if you have those. Probably.
Yeah, coin comparators.
Yeah, they're junk, and most of our games take tokens and quarters, but this is like the one and only game that I know you can get comparators that take both now, but it's cheap. And she put quarters in. They were in the return. She didn't even think to check that. So there's like 4 quarters in the return. I'm like, here you go. You need to get tokens. You know, like, so, you know, if you have a route, just spend some time there every once in a while and see how the theater employees react, and see how the customers' experiences are going and stuff like that. Maybe even do some experiences yourself. You know, especially if you have staff that you're paying for. But, but other than that, for our collections, we were kind of hinging on Pac-Man last month, and it looks like Pac-Man made it to the top for me. So, and then it goes, number 2, we have like a claw machine, which is pretty damn close to the Pac-Man, and photo booth, claw machine, Keymaster, claw machine, barber cut, claw machine, road trip, yada yada yada. So the only video game we got on the top is our number 1 game right now. So
nice.
I'm not going to go into how much it made, but the next video game I would say is doing good for us is Initial D, version 2. So, which is kind of odd. So,
yeah, for me, it's I mean, I guess it's hard to say Star Wars yet exactly where it falls into the whole scheme of things, since it's still so new. But yeah, that's up there. Jurassic Park's still very strong. The pair of Fast and Furious supercars is also really strong. And then probably air hockey.
Yeah.
But, my Terminator's been. I would have expected it to be higher right now, thanks to the new Terminator movie, at least creating Terminator hype. But I still have to resolve one of the issues with the right gun, with it not working. So probably just a little board inside of the gun that's gone bad or something like that.
Yeah, I did some service for a guy who had a House of Dead 2 with those awesome guns, with those IR sensors. It's a great time. It's the same thing. Probably got that crap connector in there. They smash them around on you, right? You know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, not to sound all sad. Sorry, I bumped my mic. Sorry about that. I'm actually pretty excited to have a video game on top for once again. You know, I mean.
Yeah, that's good. See, it can happen.
Well, yes. Well, this way now. If you look at I have all this stuff tracked. Now, if you look at the long-term profitability of it, we got a long way to go. So.
Sure.
But I'm hopeful. But it's all down to where you put things, So I'm working on getting more stuff in there, but the barcades aren't doing the great around here, and they're not sure if they're going to stay open.
Well, that's the constant worry that I've heard from experts and casual observers of the industry alike is, just how long will this sustain itself? I mean, I think there will always be a place for nostalgia in games, but it's just hard to say how long it'll be something that will make any money.
I just don't know if there's a certain population base that it needs to survive.
Right.
I don't.
Yeah, because I mean, if you look at most '70s video games, I mean, sure, there was people that probably grew up playing Pong or Breakout, but those are rarely talked about anymore in the same affection that something like Pac-Man or Galaga might get. Now, obviously, Pac-Man and Galaga will survive a lot longer than cruder, older
I
'70s
bet you in
games.
10 years it's going to be like, I mean, it's already starting to happen that the Mario Brothers stuff, like the Nintendo, Donkey Kong, and like, you know, like, how am I thinking? The newer classics like the Konami beat 'em ups,
Hmm.
Turtles, you know, all that stuff is, those are the new classics for people. I mean, those are what they grew up on, like the 90s games in the arcade, like the Street Fighters, the Gauntlets, you know, the new Gauntlet, and, well, the newer one. And that's, you know, people see those as the classics now. The Pac-Man is kind of boring, you know, to
Hmm.
them. And
Right. It'll just keep moving on. And of course, one thing I've been concerned about is, I mean, for the past 15 years, there haven't been a lot of titles on the arcade side which have landed in that sort of category. I mean, more recently, we're starting to get some titles which are drawing in attention. But ask somebody what were the arcade hits of 2006, and you're probably not going to get very many answers.
only insiders would know, like, even what came out, you know.
Right. Yeah. Aliens Extermination came out that year.
Did
So
it? See, I didn't even know. 2006. God, that was a while ago now.
yeah.
That was
Helping
like
you feel old.
that was like Time Crisis 4 Land, wasn't it? Or was that little?
Oh
That's
yeah, that was also Time Crisis 4. Yeah.
yeah.
Good.
See,
Good
I
job.
kind of remember. I think that was a little earlier than that. Mario Kart was kind of new back then too. That's how old that Mario Kart game is.
Yep. Well, yeah, I think Mario Kart 1 came out in
I
2005, and then it
I
was.
begged and I begged for that game. Like, it's earning too much money. We can't give it to you. It's like, here's another Tokyo Wars. Thank you.
Woohoo.
That was a fun game. That's the first control panel I had to take out and put back in. So
Mm-hmm.
those were new. The first one, that's my Virgin. That's when I had to like. The boss hands you this. He's like, "Here you go. Put this back together." I'm like, what? That was the first thing on the job. It's like, okay, fucking Tokyo Wars.
Don't have it done in 15 minutes, you're fired.
Well, I mean, I was working on games before that, but like that was my first official Namco thing.
Right.
It's like, here you go. But, yeah, it's funny how you remember stuff, but yeah, I think that's not much to talk about this episode. I'm glad to see that your Star Wars is doing good. Hopefully, next time you'll have like a good understanding of how much it's kicking what game's butt or not. But um, I don't know. Are you worried that it's just gonna? You got a lot of new games in there. Are you worried that it's gonna split the revenue, or we got a few minutes?
Well, the guy that's operating the Jurassic Park
Probably wasn't
arcade
too
machine
happy.
is, yeah, I could tell that when he came in to do his collections, because they were down, and he's like, I think it's your Star Wars, and it's like, well, probably to a degree, but it also was as I mentioned, the slower weekend sort of thing, so we'll need more time to see if that happens.
Well,
I
it generally
mean,
will.
yeah, it's all hard to say. I mean, yeah, I do have a lot of newer, or at least just new arrivals.
There's only so much
Well,
money that walks in your door every day, people. The more games we
there
have,
is, but I mean, I have noticed in a few instances
you can smidge it
people
out.
that came in maybe just to play Star Wars, or they came in to play Star Wars, somebody else was playing it, so they walked around and they're like, "Oh, hey, I want to play this too."
Yeah, you can chip it up a few percentage points, I mean, but there's a finite number. I mean, you can boost it. I mean, you're right. There is people that will do that.
That's kind of the idea as well. Is just,
But you haven't. That game is extraordinary, kind of variable.
but it is, but it's just, I think overall. I mean, right now I was looking at it when Star Wars came in, and I really began to gain a new realization how much licensed properties are in my arcade. I mean, because you have Star Wars, you have Jurassic Park, you have Star Trek, Indiana Jones, Batman, Terminator,
Duck,
Fast and Furious,
Duck Dynasty.
Street Fighter, which has become its own sort of license, I guess.
Well, that's an
Mortal
arcade. But
Kombat.
that doesn't count. Mortal Kombat. You're talking about like external movie license kind of stuff, like TV show movies, not like video games, right? I mean,
Yeah, just things that are properties that can be recognized through other
Oh,
means. I mean, I know it's not so much on Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter or DDR, but still, I mean, those have gained fame at such a level that they do fit that bill of instant recognition of, oh yeah, I know deadly robots or whatever.
how is your DDR? Is that up and running?
No,
Yep.
I need to replace a few of the sensors because just the wiring to them is just so destroyed that they're not salvageable. We did have a tournament level player come in and try both pads, and he said he can't play it. Um, so I've still got to figure out that stuff, and also none of the lighting on it still works. I
But
haven't
I can't.
replaced any of that yet.
Well, I'm looking at twistedquarter.com. They have the neon lights on there and
Oh.
the inverters. They're at $18 a piece, but they don't have the sensors. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they're not working at all. It's just you may have to rewire or solder them. Like, if you can't get those sensors anymore, I don't know. They're just not sensing, or they just
Yeah, you go into the menu and push down on the pad, and they just won't respond at all.
not at all. Even when you take the sensor out and kind of squeeze it, do you try that or no?
Well, some of as I mentioned, ones that are obviously bad, like the wiring is completely decayed away, it was
Yeah,
destroyed. Like it got
you
jammed under
may
the
have to
pad somehow, and
you may have to like fix the wire, like if you can't get the sensor. Um, I don't know who has those sensors anymore. I'm trying to think. I don't know. If they're not very responsive, you can take the sensor apart and flip the inside guts around. Flip it
mm-hmm.
over. That'll work. It's
Gotcha.
kind of a cheap way to do it, but
Hey, whatever works, right?
I have a couple sensors, but I'm hoarding them. Sorry. I bet you Hap has them left. They'll charge you like an arm and a leg for them.
Yeah, I kind of don't want to rebuy the game.
I'll have to ask. I know somebody that was scrapping some. Maybe they have those sensors. Yeah, I've had to rewire them in the past because it was cheap. You know, I just cut the wires off near the end and solder new wires on. You know, but yeah, hopefully you get that up and running. You know, and people start dancing and you have a good time. So, um, okay, well, I'm out of stuff to say, so
I can tell.
I'm not
Oh,
with it today. I think I did not eat my Wheaties this morning. So.
that's okay. Well, the only other thing that's really been in the news most recently is the unfortunate closure of Disney Quest down in Disney World. Um, this would probably be best covered if we brought Nick Lombardo back from Arcade Hunters, since he's visited that location
Oh,
several times, as far as I'm aware. Unfortunately, I've never been to Disney World. I've never been to Disney Quest.
DDR update here. Hap
What's that?
controls. DDR update. Hap controls has the sensor switch.
Oh,
16 bucks.
16?
Yeah. Well, that's
Oh, that's cheaper than what I found on eBay, so
yeah,
okay.
they're new too.
Yeah.
Ooh, and they have Dance Dance Revolution LED upgrade kits.
Oh.
With no, $27. That's definitely worth it in the long run.
Hmm. Well, I will check them out and see what I can do to get this game working there.
Should
And
you buy a
actually, I
lot of
guess.
stuff at once from them because they charge like twice as much for shipping.
Oh yeah, I know. I got a power supply from them recently to fix a Neo Geo, and yeah, that was not cheap on that end. But I guess while we're on this tangent, I don't remember if we mentioned this in the last one or not, but Dance Dance Revolution 2015, as they're
Oh,
calling it, is getting tested in the U.S. at Round One USA. So
go out and play. Come on, people.
yeah, don't know. I mean, I don't believe that Konami's the ones that are going to be manufacturing and getting that into distribution here. They have to be working with somebody else because that's how they've always done it since their main arcade division closed in the U.S. They don't have an arcade division in Europe anymore, as far as I'm aware.
They don't have much of anything left, I heard.
Right. I mean, even on regular video games, they've
Are they
thrown
even
out.
making that game, or is it like somebody else just making it? I don't even know anything about that game.
But they are making DDR. I mean, that's still their baby. But that's what I'm guessing is they must be working with somebody else here. My best guess is that it would be Raw Thrills because they did do a little thing with Raw Thrills back with Guitar Hero Arcade. If you look at the side of those games, they have the Konami logo on them.
That's because they have the patents on the guitars.
Yes, yeah, because they got guitars, which Konami did make Guitar Hero before Guitar Hero existed with Guitar Freak.
They have the patent on that, so
Yep.
that's the only reason their name's on there.
Yep. But, you know, that must mean somebody out there knew somebody, made the right phone calls. And, I mean, Raw Thrills, they're huge on licensing. I would say they're the top dog right now. So if you were going to go to anybody to release your high-profile game like that in the U.S., they seem to be the logical choice. But I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Are they just going to ship them over here? Someone's building them in Japan for them.
That's possible. It's just in the past with like Supernova 2, they were manufactured by Betson. Now I know a lot of DDR fans became very upset with that because Betson did some cheap things with wood and the pads and things of that nature. So I guess one thing worth noting is Betson and Raw Thrills are not the same company. I mean, they do a lot of business together, but they're not exactly the same company either. So, I don't know. I guess we'll wait and see.
Well, I'm interested. I love DDR, and, you know.
Well, that's the thing is, I mean, it still carries a strong name with it. I mean, its main disadvantage is just that they've kind of had given up on it here in the U.S. And, I mean, even with Supernova and Supernova 2, to me, it just seemed like it was very half-hearted how it was being promoted. It was just left to the fans to promote it. And to be honest, that's really the problem with all music games right now is they're just not really strong sellers because they either have to rely on an existing user base, which is not as strong as it was in, like, say, 2000. It's definitely dwindled over the years, or they have to create a new fan base from scratch, like Re-Rave or Neon FM, and that's a really tough thing to do.
A lot of the arcades have gone away, you know.
The ones that want to have those kind of games in them, yeah, it's really tough.
It's a tough sell for me to get them in. I have one, you know, but it's a tough sell to put it anywhere.
Right.
I have to basically pitch it to get it to be in a location, you know. I mean,
right.
It's loud, it's big, you know. No one wants that anymore. I mean, the barcade thing is where it could shine again. So hopefully, nothing better than drunk girls dancing and dudes who shouldn't be dancing.
Spin.
Yeah. But okay, well, I think that's going to be pretty much it for this episode of the Arcade Heroes podcast. Do you got anything else you want to add, or?
Well, I guess other than just adding our condolences to anybody who had unfortunately lost their job over the Disney Quest closure. We did have an operator or a technician comment on that. So hopefully another amusement space is found in Disney World. I imagine there has to be a place. Maybe it won't be as large as Disney Quest was, but hopefully that business is able to be found somewhere. And other than that, I guess just worth mentioning really quick, in addition to Tekken 7 getting a broader location test, we mentioned this on the blog that Round 1 USA was going to be testing it. Apparently several Dave & Buster's locations are also getting their hands on that. So that's possibly worth noting. I mean, from what I've been told, best case scenario, Tekken 7 won't be hitting home consoles until the end of 2016. So that at the very least, if they get the game out now, then that would give arcades a good amount of time to enjoy some exclusivity. It's definitely better than, say, a few weeks or a month or so.
It needs to be at least a year. I mean, there's like
yeah, absolutely.
Depends what they charge for that kit.
Right, and whether or not they'll do Tekken 7 as a kit or a dedicated machine, I don't know.
I don't
But
think they've ever made it. I guess they've made it dedicated, haven't they? But
the Tekken 6 came along as a dedicated. Um, I remember coming across that at some Vegas arcades. Um, and they also had the Bloodline Rebellion upgrade software. But yeah, so I don't know yet. They haven't announced, but I imagine they could do either one. They did do just a kit for Tekken Tag 2, which they didn't even bother to promote at all. So I guess that's what we're gonna have to see, is whether Bandai Namco Amusements America is going to actually promote it this time or not.
yeah.
Actually tell their distributors, hey, this is available for this much, and put it up on their website, do some promo videos or something like that. The kit was about $7,000, which honestly, that's way too much for a kit. I mean, fighters could make it out there if manufacturers would be more reasonable with their pricing. But yeah, I guess
I don't know. We've been through that before.
yeah.
Hopefully it's a kit. I can't see buying a dedicated fighting game. I'm sorry.
Right.
I
I
can
mean, if
bet.
the dedicated version was $7,000, then okay, that might work with a year and a half worth of exclusivity to it. But yeah, as a kit, kits should be two, maybe three at most, thousand. But when you start going up from there, it just feels like they're just jipping you. They're just ripping you off.
Yeah, it's not listed on their site anywhere. So
Well, yeah, Tekken Tag 2 wasn't, but I know for certain that it was available. But Tekken 7, I think this is because Japan's pushing it and they really want to sell it and they feel that it will sell, whereas America is probably like, whatever, we'll have to go
yeah,
along. So you guys
plenty
say
games to play.
right.
Uh,
But another interesting thing I did hear, I know a lot of people were excited about this when it was first announced, Pokken Tournament. The guy in charge of that game, as well as Tekken 7, Harada, has actually stated in Japanese media that it is likely that they will test the game out over in the U.S. I think that could be big because I personally, to me, it doesn't seem like a lot of people are interested in Tekken. Maybe that's just because they know they'll get it on a home console, so they don't really give the arcade much of a glance. But Pokemon, I mean, that's huge. That I'd say that's a lot bigger than Tekken. And so if they bring that over and it's arcade exclusive for who knows how long, then that could also be big business. In fact, I've heard of some American locations that have been wanting to import a Pokken tournament. I think the only problem with that one is the controls are very Japanese. They have what's essentially a home console gamepad for it, which just will not work in an American arcade.
it's called Pokemon Tournament.
Pokken tournament,
Oh Christ.
Pokken. So it is Pokemon. You battle as Pokemon characters like Pikachu or Lucario or several others. Unfortunately, I'm not an expert on Pokemon, but yeah, that's something that I know there's still there's plenty of adult fans. There's a lot of children that are into that. So there's no console version of that announced yet. I mean, most people assume it would be Wii U, but Wii U's in a pretty tough spot. So if anything, if it does come to the home console, it'll probably be the Nintendo NX, which could be late 2016 or early 2017 or who knows.
Yeah, probably up to 2017.
So, I mean, yeah, and that's assuming they would bring it to a home console at all, but it would end up on a Nintendo one. But either way, the arcade version definitely would have some exclusivity for a while in that instance, and I think that would bring more people into the arcade, especially more casuals than Tekken would. But that's more educated guess than absolute knowledge. But yeah, so that's the latest news out there is movement on Tekken 7 and Pokken tournament. And sorry for all you Wing and Midnight Maximum Tune fans. I know there are a lot of you out there wondering, is Namco going to do the same thing with Maxitoon 5? Unfortunately, I haven't heard a thing about that yet. So I guess we'll just have to keep waiting and waiting to see.
Yeah, I don't know. Around here, there's arcades, but the scene is so dead, man. This Pokken
Well, it
tournament.
just takes one game to reignite all that passion.
It's gonna need a facelift. I look at this Pokken tournament thing. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
I'm trying to find a picture of the arcade cabinets, but I don't.
The we should have some pictures on Arcade Heroes. I mean, they are a little odd looking. It's definitely
It's like a kiosk.
Yeah, it's like a Japanese kiosk with an oversized hand controller that detaches from the cabinet and has this thick cable. But just honestly, I don't know how that would work on the American scene. That would probably get beat up much like a light gun would here.
People don't understand in Japan there's not as much crime. And they don't have as many vandals and dingleberries running around, so that's why you see vending machines everywhere. If you had a vending machine out in the middle of nowhere in America, they would come up with a pickup truck and steal it. It's the way it is here, man. That's why some of that stuff doesn't always work. But I don't know. If they had the right crowd, I'm not going to give it a fail. I mean, it could go good.
That's the thing, is just due to the property and the unique type of play as a fighting game with something that everybody knows about and appeals to kids and adults alike. I think that could be huge. They just are going to have to figure out the right hardware configuration and the right price and right amount of exclusive time.
Definitely would do better than 7, I think.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. I've had a couple people ask about Pokken Tournament, not as many as I've had other games, but I mean that got a bit of coverage out there because any Pokemon fan site's going to talk about it, any Nintendo fan site's going to talk about it, fighting fan sites are going to talk about it, and just like I said, I don't get a lot of people that seem interested in Tekken. I mean, I have a Tekken 5. But most of my interest has come from get a Mortal Kombat or Marvel vs. Capcom or a Street Fighter. But Tekken, I had very few people ask about Tekken Tag 2. Very few.
Our Soul Calibur.
About as many as I get asking about Virtua Fighter, which is virtually none.
Our Soul Calibur 2 is picked up only because we moved it to a movie theater, and they're like all addicted to Conquest mode, the people that work there.
Gotcha. Yeah, the employees, right?
Yeah, well, I mean,
yeah. Back when I was working at an FEC in 1999, it was the employees were mainly the ones playing it back then.
But no one else has played it, Yeah. All right, we're running a little long, so why don't you say your
yes, arcadeheroes.com. Check us out on Facebook, on Twitter, on Google Plus, on YouTube. Watch our videos, subscribe, and also if you're interested in wearing t-shirts, we've got some great fun t-shirts recently posted. Will of Fish, based on the UHF Will of Fish and the Darius series, and so if you want to give us a little support, buy a t-shirt. They're great. And so thank you for listening as well, and I'll let you finish us off, Sean.
Well, you can find us at allcastlegames.com. I have t-shirts as well. Buy them if you want. I don't care. They're just going to support my eating habit, so probably don't buy them. And if you're looking for us on Facebook, it's AC Games, at AC Games Live, and on Instagram, it's All Castle Games. You can see some pictures of junked DVRs and junked initial T's. And thanks for watching. Thanks, God. See, I did it again. Thanks for listening, and have a great week.
All right, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks.
Bye.